This is the last part of my conversation with Alisa France.
I'm back to the story I shared earlier of, who I was and what that first internship was. I didn't share that I decided when I wanted to leave. I said, I'm not staying for you to terminate my position. I'm leaving on this day, which is 2 weeks before you were terminating it. So my last day will be December 13th. I feel like that's when it was.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's when my last day is going to be. Because no one's going to control my narrative. I'll control the narrative. I will make my choice. And I just made that connection of the importance of saying what it is that you are going to do and saying your choice and saying what is right for you and not letting other people determine that for you. And that is a power that we don't often get to tap into. But when we do, baby, it feels good. Whew, it feels good.
So because of that realization, I'm going to ask you this question. I asked a similar question to Dr. Satira, but I'm going to ask you, what do you think your, 19, 20-year-old self would say to you now about your journey and the journey ahead?
I say this to all my students. I'm getting a little emotional, but I say this to all my students. And it's quite simply, you got it. You good. Because it's that, that feeling of not having had the confidence before, or it was there, but it was never quite the space. And that journey, right? And what we found and what it did to us, and I'm talking about us as myself and my younger self, what it did to us and what it has allowed us to do. So I think just being in that position to make those choices and trusting those choices. So I feel like she would say, you got it. You are good. And like, ooh, sis, you created luxury. We love it. We love it. You deserve. We worked hard. You went through some shit, but you came up over it. You did it. And cannot wait to be like, and not even get to a place, but be in that place, because that place will change, but be in that place of comfort, of centeredness, of alignment, of love, of abundance, all of those things, manifesting amazing things. So I feel like she would salute me. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So now we're going to switch. Given where you are now, and both remembering that 19, 20-year-old woman and her aspirations and her energy and the love at that age. Because I'm just brimming, right? What would you say to her so that she could see herself fully?
I think I would say, I know you felt like you didn't make the right choices, but you made the necessary choices. And I've been thinking about the year after graduation, where I was going through and I was doing all of my applications and everything, but there was a period between when I left that first internship. I started at the NEA, but I also was working another job, and I was, you know, still living in DC. I was paying rent and all that stuff, but I felt so alone. And I felt like when I think back on that time, there was a lot of internal conversations. There was a lot of sitting with myself. I was breaking up with the boyfriend at the time. I was, you know, wondering what's next. People around me were like going to school, doing all this stuff, already kind of had their post-graduation wins. And I was just like eating these random egg and cheese quesadilla sandwich, breakfast sandwich things that I made, and hungry, like hungry. Didn't ask for money, didn't ask for anything. And, you know, I used to stay up really late. Like I couldn't sleep. And when you asked me like kind of what I go to ground myself, and I said TV shows, there was a show that I watched, Scrubs, and I actually just found it on Hulu, so I've been watching it again. But it was comforting to have a little bit of lightness to that experience. So that, you know, really sticks with me. So when I think about myself at that age, like that was like 21, 22, I really want to tell her, you made the necessary choices and you stuck to it. You decided that thriving was next, and you didn't fold. You stood 10 toes and you pushed through, and you made it for us. Because that girl could have went back home to Jersey. She could have, you know, just got a random job. She could have stayed in that relationship. She could have done a whole lot of things. She could have, you know, I definitely feel like that was a moment of depression, but it was the prospect of what was to come. And knowing that she was making those choices and still sticking to it, taking the GRE, putting in applications, all that stuff, having conversations with people and, you know, building networks and still showing up. And who she was is who I am still. Being able to smile, being able to crack jokes, being able to have fun, being able to, you know, just connect with people. That is my superpower, being able to connect with people and people drawing to me. And I create, you know, we talk about curating spaces. I see a space and I fill it with experience, whatever that is, whether it's coaching, consulting, games, all that stuff. And so I would tell her, you made the way for me to be where I am, who I am, and we are one still. And I'm grateful for her every single day.
Grateful for her.
Grateful for her. I could have went back home and I could have took years. I could have done a whole bunch of stuff, but it was like, no, I'm going to choose to do this. I'm going to choose here. And when I got my acceptance letters, I told one of my roommates, she came back from happy hour. She was so drunk. And I was like, I got into Columbia. She was like, oh my God. She was crying, everything. She was like, you did it. You worked so hard. Like at the height of the pandemic, I had texted her and I was like, I just want to give you your flowers for what you meant to me in that time, because I don't really know if you knew this. Like she had her full-time job. She was working. She was doing all this stuff. And when she cooked, she was like, hey, you want some food? Yes, because I was broke and I was hungry and you fed me. And that is that is a love language. That is acts of service is my love language.
Okay.
To know that someone without even asking is like, hey, come get some food. You want, I'm cooking, whatever, take some. Yeah, absolutely. And I told her, I was like, I don't even think you know how much you held me down in that time. I will be forever grateful for you. No matter where we go, what our friendship looks like, if we talk every day, if we don't talk, like, you are one of my solid, like, ride or dies, and that I'm indebted.
Wow.
And that's so important for me. Like, relationships are so important. And that's how I feel like I've been able to thrive. It's just being in relationship with people, and going back to what I said earlier, closed mouth don't get fed. So saying what I need, learning to say what I need, being more open to that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so thinking now about, there's something about that idea of hunger. I think of dual hunger. So yes, your stomach, physiologically, you were hungry, but spiritually, emotionally, you were hungry. Your sense of drive, you were hungry. And you had people who were like, okay, we see you're hungry and we're going to feed into you. We're going to feed you. So when you get in, right, we're going to celebrate you.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
When you're, even before that, while you're filling out those applications,
yep,
we're going to feed into you. We're going to pour into you and say, you got this.
Yep.
Don't give up.
Yep.
And that is what you do.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so easy for you to sit in the passenger seat, if you will.
Yeah.
And say, tell me about what you want. Okay, that sounds great. All right, so this is what I see. And I see this in you.
Yep.
Because you've had it done. And I mean, there've been some other stuff. You've been clear about that.
Yeah.
But you've taken what has nurtured you and you've created these spaces.
Yep.
And so with that, I want to ask you one last question. I think this might be the last question. You know me. I'm like, wait a minute, I got one more. So given everything you're doing, I mean, and we didn't even talk about all the stuff. You got like rental cars, you got games, you're going to be everywhere.
Yes.
Right? What's next? I mean, other than, you putting your feet, I heard that you're feeding somebody sand.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. So I'm kind of in a place where I'm like, this is the part of the journey where I don't know what I'll find and what it'll do to me. Because I have a plan, right? I am launching my coaching and consulting business, ELVYN Tree, putting the name out there. So it's manifesting. I've created a product that's good for financial organizations. So it's a financial tracking system that is really dope and amazing. And for folks who don't learn Excel well or don't know Excel well or Google Sheets or what have you, spreadsheets, I'm all the way down with systems and formulas because that's what I do. So that's a different part of the brain. I have a game for the culture called Aight, so boom. So that is coming.
Wait, what's the name of the game again?
Aight, so boom. You got to say it like with the
Aight, so boom.
And then, I mean, Keith and I, we have a rental car business. We have our short-term rentals through Airbnb and other platforms that we're building and continue to build. So we have a few of those. And so all of that is to, again, create the freedom for both of us to really live out our passions and what we're excited to do, which is work with people, right? Our relationships are important. We have basically like a platform of our business, the 3 E's. education, exposure, and experience. I almost forgot the last one. So in all of those, that's what we hold, all of our business ventures and everything. That's what we hold dear. Being able to expose people to new information, new ways of thinking, new ways of being able to create experiences, again, taking a space and filling it with experience, and being able to educate folks and, understand that we are better when we learn, and that we continue to hold certain narratives true, because they are really trying to break us down. Mm-hmm. They're really trying to rewrite our histories every single day. So the more that we're able to educate, the more that we are able to have folks see what's possible, through what we're doing. Everybody sees us and they're like, wow, y'all doing a lot. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that could be like, what you mean by that? But other times it's like, yeah, because we have a game plan. We know what it is that we want to do. So, that's immediately what's next. But as far as what's next is being able to, again, create that place of excelling. And I want to teach. So Nikole Hannah-Jones spoke to the Black woman professor in me and wanting to be at a university and, again, take a space and fill it with experience.
Right.
I want my own school. I'm still all about education in particular ways. And I've always wanted my own school. And the way that HBCUs are buzzing right now, I always wanted my school to be tied to an HBCU. Mm-hmm. Howard particularly. So, I'm going to make that work.
All right.
But, the idea is freedom and generational wealth and building a family and giving back to my family in all ways, right? Community is family, my immediate family, Kecia's immediate family, our family that we're building. All of that is important because that is what I am passionate about. And right now it is all about, where am I safe? What flex am I doing right now that is connected to my passions? And how can I excel? That just wrapped up so beautifully. Wow. That was great.
Well, Alisa, there's so many things that we can do. We could go to your game. We could do so much, but I would like to give you the final word.
Yeah.
The final word. You talked about what advice you would give to our next generation leaders. You talked about what you would say to your younger self and your younger self to you now. What would you like to say, since we brought her up like 11 times,
right,
to Nikole Hannah-Jones? If you're talking about eventually teaching,
mm-hmm.
What would you say to her, given what this experience today has paved for us, for you? What would you like to say to her?
First, of course, thank you for showing what it means to hold yourself in a regard that no one else does. Mm-hmm. And whatever that internal dialogue was, it solidified that no matter what type of narrative they try to create around being a Black woman, being a professional Black woman, being a Black woman in highly regarded spaces, that you can operate with grace and also be a goon at the same time. I'm not a goon in that way, but I am saying she posted that she a boss, like a boss. And when I think of how I operate and how I show up, if there's anything that anybody will experience from me, is that I am a boss. And I don't say that often because I show it. Mm-hmm. When you have to let the people know that you're a boss, the way that the way that you did that in the most unapologetic, direct, don't play with me kind of way is what the folks need. And you did it with grace.
Mm-hmm.
That you have set the tone for what it looks like and what it means for so many Black women that probably needed to see that today.
Mm-hmm.
All up and down my timeline. And I'm not even talking about the Howard University part, because we could get into that for days, but I'm just saying all up and down my timeline, because, it kind of faded away a little bit, right? Like, we kind of heard what was going on. If you didn't really, keep up with it, you didn't know like what she was battling and the lawyers and all that stuff. But to see that drop today after the 4th of July, which we all know how we feel about that. We're going to celebrate whatever needs to be celebrated regardless, but we're going to do it on our terms, knowing what the history is. Mm-hmm. So to see that come through today, this morning at 8, 10 a.m., you on the People's Television, on Folks Media, and you are talking to another Black woman, and you are saying what you will do, that resonated with me in ways that, as we're talking about speaking to our younger selves and giving grace to our younger selves and what we are grateful for our journeys, that validated the journey for me of what it means to show up every day in power. Yeah. What it means to show up every day and reclaiming what my existence looks like on this earth in a day-to-day. And it was done in just the boss. And it takes a lot to be a boss. And you just showed us what that means. And you've given us that blueprint. And we are here for it. Here for it. And I listened to 1619. I've cried many times listening to that podcast, because the way in which she talks and the language and just how much she poured into it. And that's what also makes it even sweeter for you to be at the institution at Howard University to continue to foster what your ancestors have instilled in you, and to honor that legacy, no matter what that looks like. Your ancestors are smiling on you right now. And I hope that we all get to be in that number and have our ancestors continue to pour into us, and to be able to have that voice that says, where are you safe? Find it. Don't hear what anybody else says. Do what you need to do. And anything that is for you can never be wrong. Can never be a wrong choice. Whoo, boss. Man, listen.
See, and then you came with wait.
Done.
So, and I'm like, should we make that a shirt? And like, Grace and Goons, right?
Goon.
You got no, she had her goons. I'm talking about the lawyers come through. Yes. Like, okay, while she got a chance to just be all right. Let me orchestrate this. And again, the beauty of it, very familiar. Because what happens? It's like, okay, so you gonna play? All right, I'm gonna get real quiet. I'm gonna get real still.
Mm-hmm. What happens when a Black woman get quiet?
What you want us to do is to keep talking and telling you our plans.
Yep.
Because if I get quiet,
then you won't know.
If I get still, if I get focused,
centered and aligned,
you're not going to like the outcome because it's not going to favor you. That's the other thing she showed.
Yep.
I'm no longer about, oh, wait a minute, I'm on just a little spirit there. I'm no longer about favoring you because I am walking in my favor.
No longer grateful for the opportunity. What? No, we are no longer grateful for the opportunity. We are no longer accepting what we feel is going to be prestige and put it whose flex is it? It's not our flex no more. We choose our flex.
Yes.
And Nikole Hannah-Jones, you chose your flex this morning, sis. And we are with it.
Your flex. Sis.
And it just so happened to be my alma mater. And I said, so they telling me that I need to come back for a degree, huh?
Yeah. I mean,
teach under what could be okay. We see what's next. It's percolating. It's percolating in the universe, and it's the signs. Because I posted that, and my homegirl who's getting her doctorate right now, she was like, "Yeah, they telling you that." Like, yes, they are.
And that's why we love our sister friends. It's like, that's exactly what you heard.
That's exactly what they telling you, Mama. That's exactly what they telling you.
That's it. Yeah. Well, I don't know what you decide, but I know that if it is in alignment with whatever is going on in your head and your heart, it's already done.
Right.
Because you've shown me that this past, year and a half plus. And I cannot wait to see what's next for Alisa France Inc.
The whole brand.
The
whole brand, man. I mean, I'm just, when we talk about mentorship and we talk about community and we talk about sisterhood, I am grateful that I opened my mouth and I said, I am tired of trying to navigate what it means to be a Black woman in a professional space. And having an ally be able to see that and say, I can't do it for you, but I know somebody who could. And because this is necessary, and it became even more necessary as we went through this pandemic, because I feel like the first session we had was the first day that we were going into lockdown.
Right? Didn't it feel like that? Like,
wait a minute. It really was, because I was off that Friday, and I remember that was right when we were going into lockdown. So the pandemic created so many different opportunities for reflection. And I am grateful to you for this space that we've had and your guidance and the validation and the space to be. And I think that, I've just learned so much about my own authenticity and how I want to model my practice based on what I've experienced with you. And I shout you out on Instagram all the time. My coach said, it's either my coach or my therapist, both Black women. My coach said, my coach was out here rapping Foxy Brown the other day.
I was having a day. I mean, but talk about being a wounded healer. I mean, we're not always 100% in every area of our lives.
Right.
And we all have something that we can offer.
Right.
We can all serve as the co-pilot, you just change the music in my car. Don't do anything else. But we can all go along on the ride and be supportive.
Yeah.
And do what we need to do. And it has been an honor and a privilege to be able to sit and listen and be a sounding board, and then have what we call our post session moments where we start talking about the ancestors like swooping up on people. I mean, those are those beautiful moments where we can just say, you know what? We're okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're okay. I hope today's episode was helpful. I'd love to hear from you, hear about what you think, hear about what other questions are coming to your mind. feel free to send me a message at anchor.fm/MTMetaphors/message. I look forward to connecting with you in our next episode. And until then, keep learning, keep thriving, keep moving towards liberation, and remember that our words, the power of our words, are so much more than metaphors. Talk to you soon.